When your dog licks you, it may look simple, a habit, a quirky sign of affection. But for many dogs, licking is something deeper than that. Sometimes it's one of the clearest ways they say, "I feel safe with you." And the part most owners miss is this. Dogs usually don't show that kind of softness where they feel uncertain. Most people read licking as love, and yes, love is part of it, but love alone doesn't explain why your dog does it in certain moments and not others. Why they lick your hand when you've been quiet all day. Why they lick your face when you finally sit down. Why they come closer and do it gently, almost like they're checking in. That's not random. That's emotional behavior. And once you see what's underneath it, those licks feel different. A lot of dogs lick when they're close enough to let their guard down. That matters more than it seems. Dogs don't just use closeness for comfort, they use it to measure safety. When your dog climbs beside you, leans into you, and starts licking your hand or arm, they're not only being sweet, they're often settling into a moment where their body feels unthreatened. Their guard is lower there. In plain terms, your presence is helping them feel okay. And this is where it gets deeper. Safety for a dog is not just about being protected from danger. It's about knowing who in their world feels steady, who feels familiar, who feels safe to approach without hesitation. So when your dog licks you in a calm moment, that lick can be part affection, but it can also be a quiet sign that your presence has become one of their safest places. That's why dogs often lick more when life feels noisy or emotionally unclear. Most owners assume the dog is just excited, needy, or looking for attention. But sometimes, the dog is doing something much more revealing. They're using contact to return to what feels grounding. Your smell, your skin, your stillness, your voice. These things can help them settle. What looks like a tiny behavior can actually be a way of coming back to emotional balance. Not because they're weak, but because they trust you enough to regulate near you. Here's the thing. Dogs don't always ask for safety in obvious ways. They don't say, "I need reassurance right now." They move closer. They watch you. They rest against you. And sometimes, they lick. That's why this behavior matters. It's not always just a kiss. Sometimes it's a dog saying, "I feel better when I'm connected to you." If this is making you see your dog differently, subscribe, because the next part gets even deeper. One reason licking feels so emotional is because it often happens when your dog is reading you, not just reacting to themselves. Many dogs are also gathering information in that moment. They notice your tone, your breathing, your energy. Even when you say nothing, your dog can feel when something in you has shifted. That's why some dogs lick more when you're sad, tired, or stressed. It looks like a small habit, but it may be a quiet response to your inner state. And that changes the meaning. The lick is no longer just, "I love you." It becomes, "I noticed something." Your dog may not understand your thoughts, but they often pick up your mood before you realize how visible it is. So when they come close and lick your hand after a hard day, that may be their version of emotional checking. Not a fix, just closeness. A gentle way of saying, "I'm here too." That sounds small, but it isn't. Because emotional safety goes both ways. Many dogs don't only receive calm from you. They also try to restore closeness when they sense distance in you. That's one reason licking can feel comforting. It's not always about demand. Sometimes it's an attempt to reconnect. There's also a layer of vulnerability in licking that owners rarely think about. A dog that chooses soft, close contact is revealing something important. In that moment, they're not guarding space. They're not scanning the room. They're choosing intimacy over caution. And for an animal that depends so much on reading safety, that choice means a lot. This is trust, not routine. Your dog is coming into your space with softness instead of tension. They're showing you a version of themselves that isn't braced or guarded. That's why the gentlest licks can sometimes feel more meaningful than the wild, excited ones. Excitement is easy to spot. Vulnerability is quieter. But it often tells you more, especially when your dog does it slowly, calmly, with that soft face and relaxed eyes. That kind of licking often comes from emotional ease. Your dog feels safe enough not to perform, safe enough just to be close. And this is where many owners miss the second hidden layer. Sometimes dogs lick because your bond has become part of their emotional routine. Not routine in a dull sense, routine in the deepest sense. Something reliable. something that tells the body what to expect. Your dog may lick you when you come home, when you wake up, or when you sit in your usual chair. It can look repetitive, but repetition is often how dogs protect their sense of stability. They return to small rituals because rituals make life feel secure. So when your dog licks you the same way every morning, it may not be a meaningless habit at all. It may be a reassurance ritual, a way of confirming that the bond is still there, the world is still in place, and you are still you. Dogs find safety in what stays emotionally consistent. That's why your voice matters. Your everyday presence matters more than most people realize. But hold on to that, because the last part changes everything. Sometimes licking is deepest not when it increases, but when it changes. If a dog who used to lick you gently stops completely, or suddenly starts licking in a more restless, urgent way, don't brush that off. It doesn't automatically mean something is wrong, but behavior shifts matter because dogs often change their signals before owners understand why. A different kind of licking can reflect stress, confusion, discomfort, or a change in how secure the dog feels in that moment. That is not meant to make you worried. It's meant to make you attentive. Because once you understand licking as emotional communication, you stop treating it like background noise. You start noticing when it is calm, when it is soothing, when it is checking, and when it is asking for more support than usual. And that kind of noticing can change your relationship. Your dog feels more seen when the small things are not ignored. In the end, your dog licking you is not always just affection, and it's not just habit either. Sometimes, it's trust made visible. Sometimes it's a way of calming down beside the person who helps the world feel less uncertain. Sometimes it's a check-in, a ritual, a return to connection. And sometimes, in the softest moments, it may be the closest thing your dog has to saying, "With you, I can let go." So the next time your dog licks your hand or gives one small lick, pause before you laugh it off. That moment may be carrying more feeling than you think. What looks like a tiny behavior may be a message your dog has been repeating all along. Not just, "I love you," something even deeper than that. "I trust you enough to feel safe here."